the early 90s were a terrible time for the LA economy because the Cold War had ended and aerospace was downscaling. And the line I used then, which sort of then became prophetic, I think, for what happened to the American economy as a whole, but in describing the LA economy in the first half of the 90s, I kept writing, you know, the bottom has not fallen out of the LA economy, but the middle has fallen out of the LA economy. Tremendous. Well, LA deindustrialized twice, really. This was the second largest concentration of auto manufacturers in the country after Detroit. But the plants all began closing in the 70s, and they were all gone by the end of the 80s. But there's a particular wave of closings of auto plants, tire plants, things like that. In the late 70s and early 80s, it was just huge.
Why did they leave?
They wanted to reconcentrate manufacturing around Detroit, and there was a beginning to be a bit of a downsizing of the big three. So they left. You know, when you drive out, I think it's the 5 down to Santa Ana, there is this shopping mall, I forget what it's called, that's in which they've kept the facade of this immense old tire factory that has these Assyrian figures.
The Citadel.
The Citadel.
Yeah.
Well, the Citadel was a tire plant initially, you know, and built like in the 20s when, you know, manufacturing was a wave of the future, and you wanted to build this wholly imposing exterior on your factory.
So that wasn't put there by the mall? That was the original facade?
Oh yeah, that's from the 20s. That's a tire plant.
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't put there by the mall at all. No. And it's just as, you know, it's as weird a thing coming up in LA, like the elephants that, you know, D.W. Griffith built for Intolerance or whatever that was. So no, that was put there as a tire plant, and all these places began to close, and then you had the double whammy of LA losing most of its aerospace in the first half of the 90s, and you took out these two elements from the LA economy, and you know, I mean, LA, as I said, LA is in many ways largely invisible to itself, and you know, there are people on the West Side who have never been down to the harbor and don't know what the hell goes on there. Or, you know, I mean, have some dim awareness perhaps that half the imports from Asia come in through there, but there are whole parts of the LA economy that nobody is particularly cognizant about. It's too spread out. It's the connective tissue in a more than a geographic way. It just is not there. But the middle fell out. A lot of the white working class and largely white workforce in these plants that were engineers and whatnot could not find comparable work in LA, and that was a lot of the outmigration that went on in the 90s to Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, places like that, Colorado. Meanwhile, this is at the same time that you have this huge immigrant influx from Mexico, and you're beginning to get this immense transformation